Do you know what's special about this week? It's Christmas. So how about a good old Christmas story? The year is 1991. The day is December 25th, Christmas Day. Most of the world was snuggled up at home, but in Moscow, an empire was collapsing. On Christmas Day in 1991, the Soviet flag was lowered from the Kremlin. The new Russian flag replaced it. 30 years have passed since then. The Soviet empire is dead and buried, but its ghosts continue to linger. Two former Soviet nations are on the brink of war, Russia and Ukraine. It's basically a battle for influence. Russian President Vladimir Putin wants his country to dominate Ukraine, but Ukraine wants to ally with the West. The result is this, a massive military standoff. How many soldiers are we talking about? There's no official count, but here's what intelligence reports say. Russia has deployed around 100,000 troops. 75,000 more are on standby, we are told. On the other side, Ukraine has amassed 125,000 troops. Remember, this is all happening in peak Russian winter. What about firepower? Equally devastating, Russia has moved tanks, artillery and air defense systems to the border, and they're ready and awaiting orders. So what's their commander-in-chief thinking? Well, Vladimir Putin is a tough man to read. He doesn't give away very much. Earlier this month, he held virtual talks with US President Joe Biden. Their agenda was quite simple, prevent a war. I know that's a low bar for any meeting, but on the flip side, lower the bar, lower the expectations. President Putin wants certain security guarantees from the US. Basically, he has a wish list. Let me tell you what's on it. Putin's wish list. Number one, stay out of Ukraine, which means NATO must not offer membership to Kiev. Number two, NATO must retreat from Eastern Europe. So no weapons, no troops, no NATO military presence in Eastern Europe. Putin would also like something to sweeten the deal, maybe an all clear for the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Germany's new government is not keen on this project. Some European countries are also threatening to block it. Moscow wants Joe Biden to grease the wheels a bit, get the pipeline up and running. So that's Putin's wish list. But will the West agree? I know it's Christmas, but nobody is that generous. The US has called some of these demands unacceptable. Nonetheless, they've agreed to talks. Reports say the first round will begin next month, in the month of January. And that in itself is a small win for Russia. But President Putin is not satisfied. His demand is quite clear. Give us the guarantees and we back off.
Our actions will depend not on the negotiation process, but on the unconditional security of Russia. Today and in the historical perspective, in this regard, we have made it clear, and explicitly so, that further NATO movement eastward is unacceptable. What is unclear? Is it us who places the missiles near USA borders? No, it was the USA who came with its missiles to our house. They're on the doorstep of our house.
What is Joe Biden's play here? Does he even have one? Biden is threatening major sanctions on Russia. He could cripple the Russian economy. But what if the sanctions do not work? Is there a plan B? You could say plan B is military support. This year, America has given Ukraine $450 million in military aid. They're training Ukrainian soldiers. They're supplying anti-tank missiles. But what about boots on the ground? Will Joe Biden send American soldiers to Ukraine, to another war? So far, he has rejected this idea, but Washington has made one thing quite clear. If Russia invades, then NATO will intensify its presence in Eastern Europe. Exactly what Putin does not want. So Biden's game plan is to raise the stakes, make it impractical for Russia to invade Ukraine. It's a classic stalemate. What Russia wants, America cannot give. And what America wants, Russia doesn't want to give. Caught in the middle is the so-called prize, the sovereign nation of Ukraine. Their president, Volodymyr Zelensky, is not backing down. He wants to ally with the West. He wants a time frame for joining the NATO. And that is precisely what Putin hates. The Russian president says he wants good relations with Ukraine, but with the current government, he says, it is impossible.
What is the problem for us? We want to build good neighbors' relations with Ukraine, and we are ready to pay any price, ready for everything. But how can we build such relations with the current Ukrainian authorities, taking into account what they're doing? It's almost impossible. But we are ready to work with those political powers who would like to build relations with us.
I know it's a cliche, but diplomacy is the only way out. The other option is a long military standoff. And trust me, it won't just be Ukraine then. Russia is threatening to deploy nukes in Europe. NATO could do the same. How long before allies and middle powers join in? What's happening today is eerily similar to the Cold War. The same bluffs, the same threats, even the same actors. The only way out is for Biden and Putin to sit down and talk, to make concessions and to meet each other halfway. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.